Welcome to episode 2 of Work, Law, and All the Drama. Remember, we talked about mutual separation agreements. We promised you that we'd come back and address the question, are mutual separation agreements legal? That's a question for me. But I'd want to hear from the HR end. Do they think it's legal? What do they think that they're doing when they're doing these mutual separation agreements? Jane.
It's legal.
It is?
It is legal, yes. First of all, because anything that the two of you agree within
Yes.
your contract, then it becomes binding.
Yes.
And you have to now be able to comply with whatever that you agreed. And as we do this, then we have to ensure that we are clear with the minimum provisions. All the Constitution, the Fair Administrative Act, the Employment Act, the statutes and all that we really have to just follow. Our internal policies, if you have it in the policy, all that becomes really contractual.
Do you think HR people are thinking it is important to institutionalize how we conduct or how we initiate mutual separation agreements? Because I feel like often at times it's a decision from the top and then it is executed by HR as opposed to this is how as a company we are expected to have a mutual separation agreement.
So I'll be a bit political about that. Let me first of all say that it is not in the Employment Act.
It is not.
And most HR people focus on the Employment Act, but we must know that the labor laws and the things that guide how we manage the labor relations goes beyond the Employment Act. Yeah. And that's why it's very important to always cross-check with the legal person just to be sure, because compliance is easier than just having now to come back and try to rectify the issue that you're doing forever. So in terms of it should be in the policy, why I was saying it's going to be political is because there are some people who would actually abuse it.
Yes.
So like if I think I'm not performing and I think my boss is being very hard on me, then I would actually say I want the mutual separation.
Yeah.
Someone has missed, you should be going through a disciplinary process, you should be going through maybe whatever that it is, a PIP, performance improvement plan. But then the easiest way out is because I know I'm going to be fired, let me just go for a mutual separation. Maybe I'm going to get my 6 months pay or something more.
Yes.
So that's the catch that I see. Most CEOs and most HRs very hesitant to put it on pen and paper.
But on the other hand, not having a threshold around it or parameters around it can also be very dangerous. So my thinking would be discretion is upon you as the employer, but parameters
Of what
would amount to mutual separation agreement. So that then we never have a situation where one person is given a mutual separation agreement and another person is given a mutual separation agreement, but the terms therein are different, where we'd say there's discrimination, or whatever the case may be, or it sets a bad precedent in the company. Not that you should actually say only these people can be, but you are able to know what category of people can we then have this conversation with, or at what point do we have this conversation with. It should not be at the point that you're trying to force out an employee.
So just to respond to you and what I've seen, even the few times that myself have been able to work with CEOs and HR departments to do mutual separations, there are even times that companies have told me, Jane, we are going to do this through you as a third party. And even the money we pay the person should come to you, then you pay the employee. We do not want to set a precedent here that someone can actually claim that I want a mutual separation.
Yes.
So it will remain a discussion, it will remain a point of debate. Some people will think it's okay to formalize it, others will know that it's a card we have somewhere, but then we'll know when to pull it.
Exactly.
So for me, what I would tell the employers is when you choose to do that, then seek legal advice. It doesn't have to be in the policy, but if you choose to do that, just seek legal advice so that you're sure then you're doing the right thing. Because like I've told you very many times, when we have that, if I know I'm about to be fired, why would I let myself be fired?
Yes. Yeah. And you can pursue
and I can just pursue this policy that is saying.
And I understand that, because sometimes discretion is really, really hard to document.
Exactly.
And mutual separation agreements is discretionary, meaning it's something that you must have processed and seen based on this context. We need to let this person go. And context may never be the same.
Exactly.
But I feel like we've gone away from the question, is it legal? And he said, yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I also want to support that question and say, yes, mutual separation agreements are lawful in so long as they are done right. Why are they lawful? Number one, in so long as an agreement is a contract. Contracts are lawful under the laws of contracts. They are lawful. That's number one. Two, you must ensure that it is done legally or lawfully. And that is where you now need a lawyer. By the way, for both the employer and the employee, both of them need a lawyer, so that if you're signing the contract, pen to paper, as has been put previously, if you're signing that particular contract, you're actually aware of what it is that you're signing.
Exactly.
Now, over and above the fact that it is lawful in terms of statute, it is also lawful because the courts have gone and validated and said instances where people have signed mutual separation agreements have been deemed as legal. I'll give you a case that I just read a few days ago, where a particular employee took the employer to court and stated that they were given a mutual separation agreement despite the fact that the same is not anchored in law, and they were pushed out. And the court then went through the facts and realized, number one, this person had said that they no longer find themselves relevant in the organization. Number two, they had asked by letter that they would want a mutual separation agreement, and they'd want their last date to be, at that point, it was 30th April 2018. So they didn't set out the date they want to leave. Then the company and this particular employee executed a mutual separation agreement. He then got a job with a separate company 5 days later after that 30th.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
You saw that case? After 30th April 2018. Now, when this came to court, and the court was being told this was not a lawful mutual separation agreement, it's not anchored in law, I was forced out, the court then looked at the facts surrounding that mutual separation agreement. Number one, it was initiated by the employee, not the employer, by the employee. Number two, the employee had also set a date that they wanted to leave. So we can see with that sort of situation where the court stated that this person willingly signed the mutual separation agreement, goes to show us that the court actually agreed that they are lawful. And if it's done right, then it actually meets that legal threshold.
There are so many cases like that where either the employee is losing or winning purely based on the mutual separation agreement. And it's funny that you mentioned that case, because I think I also saw a case whereby this particular employee agreed. They even had a lawyer in the represented during the signing of the agreement and all that. But as soon as they signed, a few months later, maybe they were brokered or something. I don't know what pushed them to go to court. But you see them going to court and the court pushing back and saying, guess what? Case dismissed. At no cost. No? Why? Because you actually pursued this. You even went with the lawyer. And therefore you agreed and you represented.
I can think it's the same case.
It could be the same case, Because I was like, if you even came with a lawyer, now what is making you now go back to court? And that made the discussion very important, because we are seeing whereby even employees accept that they are being mutually separated. They have agreed voluntarily and they have signed. They even have a good representation. Then they go back to court. So for the employer, then we have to be very, very, very careful to be sure that then you have looked at what could go wrong. What risk are we dealing with here? And allow me to just say this, that sometimes you also have to analyze the kind of employee that you're dealing with. If it's an employee that is always signing threats, I'll go to court, I'll sue you, or even some maybe you can even say from the body language, they're doing things like this, they are doing this, and they're talking. Most likely this thing is going to go to court after, whether you agree or not agree. For some reason, they are going to feel like they are unfairly treated. So if you see such things, it's good to also take a pause, tell them, you know what, take 5 days, let's discuss, let's revisit again. Just to enhance the mutuality and to look like you are fair. You give them enough time to internalize the feelings, the emotions. They can consult when they have to consult, and it will be good to even say, you know what, you have 5 days, consult, let's meet and discuss.
I agree. Now, that is actually going to be part of what we are discussing in our third episode. Because we have established that it is a legal document, but you must do it right for it to actually not stand being challenged in court, or being thrown out in court, or your case being dismissed on account that you're misusing the mutual separation agreement. Thank you so much for listening to us. That was all about work, law, and the drama. Remember, it is legal only if it is done right.